Tarot Tribe, it's Ethany, and today we are at day 22 of the 31 days of tarot for 2018. And today we have the prompt, share the card that was hardest for you to get when you were first learning the tarot. How do you feel about the card now? So I actually have sort of cheated. I've picked three, and I'm going to share the three cards that I found the hardest to get, and then some ways that I kind of moved past it, and now how I think about the card. So the cards are Justice, the Hierophant, and Judgment. I also could have put Temperance in there. I think I talked about Temperance last year though. Now, they are all major arcana cards. Now, the reason why these were so difficult for me, I guess, the first two I can pretty much, Judgment and the Hierophant. The Hierophant, I didn't really have a super religious upbringing, so the image of a pope or a holy man in that respect is kind of very foreign to me. I get religious discipleship, but it didn't really resonate with me. And then Judgment, besides, being called in the last judgment at the pearly gates, again, didn't have a religious upbringing. I didn't quite understand it. And then Justice can seem really kind of flat, but it wasn't until I understood the higher meaning of the Justice card that it kind of clicked as to what it meant. And then something that I found really helpful is if you look at different decks and how they, especially some non-traditional ones or some decks that have a different kind of theme, you can really see some different ways in which these cards are viewed and can help you. So this is the Greenwich Tarot, and hopefully I had a couple of people saying that I was a little too, that they couldn't hear me well enough, so I'm hoping that this is better today. Let me know if I'm yelling at you all. This is the Greenwich Tarot, and they have some different, because it's a very pagan, it is a pagan Wiccan deck, there are different archetypes in here. So the Hierophant becomes the High Priest, and I started my Wiccan path when I was 15, so that very much makes more sense to me to be the male counterpart to the High Priestess. The Justice becomes the Standing Stone. And you see here it's got the scales still, and then we've got a spider with a web and the words harm none, which harkens to the Wiccan rule of if it harm none, do as thou will. And that makes more sense. That kind of clicked in something else for me. And then Judgment becomes Harvest, which is, reaping what you sow, seeing rewards, things like that. So that helped me look at the cards in a different way, even though that's a fairly newer deck. It was more around learning the deeper aspects of those cards that helped me understand, and through study, what these cards mean. And I think that can be the hard part, especially if we haven't had or we have had religious backgrounds. We might see the Hierophant and we may have had bad experiences in church. And then that's going to obviously come into play with how you feel about the card. Same with a lot of them, our experiences were brought in. And then it comes to the way in which we view them. The Hierophant also talking about communities and institutions and responsibility of influence and power. And I put that into play with the Bad Bitches Hierophant. And she's on her phone using social media and the kind of religion that pop culture and celebrity, things like that have started to, they do have in our modern world. And Justice is very much Lady Justice in that. And justice for me, I was talking to my sister about this the other day, about justice versus like the meaning of justice versus our own personal thoughts on justice, our own creeds, our own ways of living versus like universal law and justice on a higher plane. So I said to her, what does it being fair have to do with it? It's got nothing to do with it at all. So that was another thing that I learned to understand about justice, not only being about karma, but being about like the deeper universal laws that are at play in our lives every day. And then judgment, the call home, like the call to do our higher work, the call to do what we feel very drawn to and to stand up for what we believe in and to be seen and counted and all those sorts of things. So those are probably the 3 cards that I found that I needed to spend a bit more time on and study with at the beginning. And again, like I could put temperance in there, but I did talk about that last year, I believe, off the top of my head. But that's today's prompt. Thank you for watching and for joining in if you're still doing this crazy little thing called the 31 Days of Tarot. And we'll see you tomorrow.